After my family went bankrupt, I decided to put drugs in the drink of my childhood nemesis. But at that moment, I suddenly heard his heart say, "Baby, you're so cute." Just after taking the medicine from me, my hands are already shaking. Why is your body so beautiful? I don't know if I can stand it in the next few hours. Even if I cry and beg for you later, I definitely won't stop. My steps stopped right at the door. At this time, on the bed, Von Lamb's face was red and uncomfortable. He pulled his tie loose, his eyes looking at me dimly. "Lieutenant, what did you just give me to drink?" At the same time, I heard his heart again. "Baby likes it." I forced myself to pretend to be a little more restrained. "Baby's lips are so soft, I want to kiss him." "Baby's waist is so small, I also want to kiss him." "Baby's feet are so white, what will happen if he puts them on my shoulder?" Immediately, I cried out in fear, "This pervert, don't come close to me." The story was edited by the YouTube channel Demon King Review. Hope you enjoy listening to the story. Von Lamb and I have been sworn enemies since childhood. When I fell in love early, he took pictures to send to the teacher. "I skipped class," he reported. On the contrary, he fell in love early, I reported. "My name is Lieutenant, but he calls me Muna." I was so angry that I called him Lamb Caw in retaliation. But unexpectedly today, I discovered a shocking truth. Turns out he liked me for a long time. I quickly retreated towards the door, my hand clutching the doorknob, intending to take the opportunity to run away. But Von Lamb suddenly grabbed my wrist and forced me up to the door. Normally he was always lazy, but right now, he was approaching. His aura was oppressive, carrying a dangerous aura. He laughed softly. "Lamuna, what are you running for? Wasn't that glass of water at the party just given to me?" It's true that I gave that glass of water to him. If it weren't for my family's bankruptcy, I wouldn't have taken it out on him. When I gave him the glass of water, I hesitated a bit. But he grabbed it and drank it all in one gulp, looking very hasty. There was no other way. I had to take him to the hotel, intending to take some intimate photos to control the situation. But I didn't expect that he liked me, and that he was also a big pervert. I felt guilty, my eyes wavered but still tried to appear calm. "Don't slander me. I was afraid you'd get drunk, so I kindly poured you a drink. Yet you're not grateful, and now you're even more aggressive with me." I put on a pitiful look and said, "People are so scared." As soon as I said that sentence, I almost vomited because of my hypocrisy. This time I can definitely make him feel disgusted and let me go. Sure enough, Von Lamb frowned tightly. I was secretly happy in my heart. There's no way this damn guy could like me. I must have heard it wrong earlier. But in the next second, I heard his voice again. "Baby, why are you so cute even when acting like a babe? I want to kiss you to death. I want to lock you up, only for me to see." Does he call this coddling? I feel really confused. He raised his eyebrows, the corners of his lips curled up slightly, his voice carrying a seductive tone. "Lamuna, I'm so uncomfortable. Can you help me a little?" As he spoke, he grabbed my hand and slowly pulled it down. My hand was guided by him, sliding up the hem of my shirt. He touched the hot flesh. I quickly turned away, constantly chanting, "Form is emptiness, form is emptiness," but my hand didn't listen and slid up, unconsciously touching his abs. Probably because the drugs made me lose consciousness, or maybe he really has abs. His body is so beautiful, maybe sleeping with him once wouldn't be a disadvantage. Just when I was about to succumb to this temptation and voluntarily surrender, I suddenly heard footsteps outside. The sound got closer and closer. It seemed like there wasn't just one person. Von Lamb was slightly stunned. I immediately realized the opportunity and quickly pushed him away. Just then, A soft voice spoke from outside, accompanied by a soft knock on the door. "Principal, are you in your room? Are you okay?" I knew this voice was to Engian, the new fiancée of Von Lamb, my ex-fiancée. She is also a junior in the same department as Von Lamb. A month ago, right after my family went bankrupt, my ex-fiancé immediately broke off our engagement. Furthermore, he openly declared his feelings for to Engian in front of everyone. He must have forgotten by now. That day, if it weren't for the Liu family's help, how could he, as an illegitimate son, have stood firm in the fierce battle for the family, and gradually climbed to power like he is now? At that time, I didn't hold back on the engagement. I just hoped he could respect his old love and help the Liu family a little in their trouble. But he just coldly hugged to Engian in his arms, looking at me with eyes full of contempt. Who wants the help of the Liu family? Before, wasn't it your family that wanted to follow me? Nguyen is both honest and gentle. She is the one I truly love. Having finished speaking, he immediately announced his relationship with to Engian in front of everyone, leaving me standing there, becoming the laughingstock of the crowd. Now I see through everything. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have needed to risk seducing my sworn enemy. I just don't know what my ex-fiancée is doing here. Want to catch a cheat? I once heard that when Von Lamb was in college, he confessed his love to Engian but she rejected him. Then there were rumors that he loved her but couldn't have it, and was always in love with her. That's right. Von Lamb and Thach Hao have been opposing each other for many years. Assuming he really likes me, will he be moved when he meets his first love again? Furthermore, looking at his current condition, I'm not sure I can keep myself. So, it's best to just run away. I quietly raised my hand, grabbed the door handle, and gently pushed it open a small crack. But before I could step out, bang! The warm hand next to him suddenly pulled the door hard, slamming it shut. At this moment, my whole body was pressed against the door by Von Lamb. He panted, his eyes deep and dangerous. Damn, the medicine is starting to take effect. That's not right, the medicine should have worked a long time ago. It's just that Von Lamb is so good at controlling it, and has been patient until now. But at this point, can he still endure it? I swallowed my saliva. There was only one thought in my mind: run. But just as I was about to run, he suddenly picked me up, leaned down, and kissed me hard. The kiss was both strong and hasty, as if wanting to dissolve me into him. Knock knock knock, a sudden knock on the door rang out from outside. "Principal, are you in there?" It's to Engian again. Looks like she got. The sound of the door closing strongly attracted Von Lamb. "You're such an idiot." I was angry and gently scolded him, but before I could say more, he leaned down and kissed my baby again. So sweet. Need to kiss a little more. The knocking on the door became louder and louder. The voice outside carried impatience. "Liu Tian Na, are you in there? What did you do to Principal? Principal, are you okay? Open the door quickly." A fragile wall separated me and Von Lamb from inside, while outside Su Engian and the others kept knocking on the door, knocking and knocking. The pounding on the door became more and more urgent, as if they were about to break down the door and barge in. Suddenly, I heard Von Lamb's voice. "This group of people really don't have eyes to see, they just have to interrupt me and my baby. It's so annoying that to Engian, she always likes to stick her nose into Bao Boy's affairs. We should give her some pressure so that next time she can keep her husband, and don't have the leisure to meddle in other people's affairs." Wait, so he doesn't like to Engian right now. I felt the atmosphere outside become chaotic. A few seconds later, click. Von Lamb suddenly opened the door. The flash from the camera along with curious eyes came. He held me tightly in his arms, shielding me from the camera. As for me, I just want to find a hole to crawl into. This scene really made me so embarrassed that I didn't want to look at anyone. Von Lam's eyes were as cold as ice, and the strong aura he radiated made the surrounding temperature seem to drop several degrees. Behind Su Ingyan was a group of people, including both men and women, and also some reporters. Everyone stared at us with wide eyes. They originally only came to learn about the young lady's bankruptcy and drug addiction, but the situation in front of them was not what they imagined. On the contrary, they seemed to have disturbed the young master's good deeds. Everyone knows that Von Lam's personality is not pleasant. If he is really angry, no one can bear the consequences. A few people consciously retreated quietly, leaving only Su Ingyan standing in front. She bit her lips slightly, trying to maintain her mood, then opened her mouth to speak. Just now, I saw Miss Lu put a packet of white powder into a glass of water. I was worried about the safety of the student, so I followed her here. I didn't expect to bother the student. I'm sorry. After she finished speaking, she bowed her head and made a pitiful look as if she were the victim. All eyes turned to Von Lam, but he only coldly glanced at her, his tone indifferent. It's okay to be bothered. A short sentence, without an extra word. His words were like a sharp knife, blocking everything she wanted to say further. Tu Ingyan was stunned. Can't believe my ears. The air suddenly became heavy. At this moment, one person couldn't help but shouted loudly. Don't ask Von Lam. Don't be so unreasonable. Nguyen was only worried about you, that's why she called us. I unconsciously raised my head, but was immediately hugged tightly by Von Lam. So annoyed, I secretly punched him in the chest. Unexpectedly, not only was he not angry, but the corners of his lips also slightly curled up, as if he was amused. Faced with that criticism, he just lazily raised his eyes and his tone was indifferent. What does it have to do with you? Having finished speaking, he held my struggling hands tightly and gently continued. But I have something to remind you, young lady. Today you rushed people to the hotel to find me, almost breaking the door and barging in. Legally, this behavior can be considered an invasion of privacy and harming my honor. By the way, tell your fiancé that maybe we will meet in court. Good luck. Having finished speaking, he did not give anyone time to react. With a bang, he slammed the door. Before I could open my mouth, he quickly let go of me and strode into the bathroom. Immediately after that, the sound of rushing water rang out. My heart suddenly felt guilty. Previously, the medicine seller assured me that this medicine was extremely effective, almost no one could resist it. Yet he endured for so long. Surely he is very upset right now. This guilt stuck with me until he walked out of the bathroom. And at that moment, I heard his heart again. If I had known that the medicine was this strong, I wouldn't have let her use it. But luckily she really believed that she was the one who took the initiative to give me the medicine. Muna is truly infatuated with my body. I was dumbfounded. Wait, what is this all about? I decided to put medicine in his glass of water because an online friend advised me to do so. That person even provided me with medicine, worried that I would mess up, so he helped me make a detailed plan. Because I'm not a smart person at all, I had to follow the plan sparingly. At that time, I thought this person was very kind, but now that I think about it, everything was done by this bastard. Moreover, I also lost $1 million. I was so angry that my anger flared up. I gritted my teeth and rushed forward, kicking him to the ground. This thief, give me back $1 million. His body stiffened slightly. What $1 million? Does he really not know? That's impossible. A stingy person like him who doesn't let anyone benefit even a penny, how could he not know this? I really want to swear. Furthermore, he dared to pretend to be innocent. How angry. But hey, I'm not the nice type either. Anyway, I was wrong about taking the medicine first. If he really likes me now, then I can take advantage of him a little. Thinking so, I took a deep breath, tried to suppress my anger, and spoke calmly. Von Lamb, it's true that I was wrong to arbitrarily drag you to the hotel, but you also forcefully kissed me, causing me emotional trauma. I don't ask for much, just compensate me with 1 million. I looked at him expectantly, but Von Lamb deliberately prolonged his tone. His tone was lazy and teasing. But my money is only for my girlfriend to spend. If you want to take my money, just be my girlfriend. I agree. As soon as he finished speaking, I immediately blurted out this sentence, even though I always considered him an enemy. But who would fight against money? Just by becoming his girlfriend, I can be cool and cold while spending his money. Von Lamb smiled and shook his head. I'm afraid it's not enough to say this. At this moment, I suddenly realized that I seemed to agree too quickly. If I'm so easygoing, will he feel that I'm not worth it and quickly hate me? I frowned and asked. So what do you want? Von Lamb sat down on the sofa and smiled faintly. Or you should try seducing me first. Even though he said that, why do I feel like he's seducing me like this? I took a deep breath, turned around to leave, but he immediately held my hand tightly. Let's do this. Hug. I paid 200,000 yuan for one, 300,000 yuan for a kiss. I raised my eyebrows at him, my tone teasing. What, do you want to take care of me? Von Lamb quickly turned away, his ears turned red, his mouth hard. It's just a way to insult you. The corners of his lips twitched, trying to force a smile to hide his embarrassment, but he looked even more indifferent. Anyway, you hate me so much. The more upset you are, the happier I am. However, I heard his heart say, this damn mouth of mine, if you don't know how to talk, then shut up. Giving money is just to keep the treasure. I smiled and walked closer, gently poking his collarbone with my finger. Von Lamb rarely shows awkwardness, his eyes are a bit unnatural, his chest hair is slightly fluttering. I tilted my head and smiled innocently. Von Lamb, I want to know if you only have the toughest mouth on your body. Is it so difficult for you to like me? He suddenly grabbed my wrist, immediately turned around and forced me down. There's another part of my body that's also very hard. Do you want to try it? I kept my expressionless face and kicked him directly in the leg. He was in pain and immediately let me go. Muna, why do you kick people so hard? At this moment, I coldly reached out and hugged him, calmly saying, I agree to be your girlfriend, but we have to discuss it a bit. A hug is 200,000 yuan, and a kiss is fine, no need to discuss. Quickly transfer the money. I urged him. He glared at me helplessly, and finally obediently took out his phone. At the same time, my phone rang. It's a notice reminding you of the interview time. I conveniently texted the staff there, I won't come anymore. But to show some dignity, I still pretended to pick up my bag and intend to leave the room. Seeing that, Von Lamb frowned and asked, Where are you going? To an interview. I raised the phone in front of his face, no need anymore. Anyway, you already take care of me. Having said that, I still understand that my family's debt cannot be paid off overnight. So, before deciding to go off the medication, I had a plan ready. Schedule interviews with several companies. Then come to my company. I'm missing a secretary, food and accommodation, full insurance, annual salary of 1 million. Every Monday morning, half a day off. Hearing this, my eyes lit up, but I still pretended to be haughty. Since you sincerely invited me like that, I can only reluctantly agree. Then, I heard his heart filled with resentment. Sure enough, she only likes my love, but it's okay, at least I can still keep her by my side with money. A month later, Von Lamb took me back to his villa and arranged the room right next to his room. At this moment, he happily shouted in his heart, "So, every morning when I go out the door I can see my baby." I glared at him. He was indeed a thoughtful man. The first month of working, I gradually got used to the work process. Every morning I deliberately hug him, then go to the company together. At the office, I help him organize documents, schedule meetings, and welcome customers. I intentionally hugged him one more time. Before returning to the bedroom, sometimes when I encounter a difficult situation, he will wholeheartedly guide me little by little. Even when negotiating with customers, he asked me to sit next to him to learn. Previously, I was used to a life of spending money like water and never had work experience, but during my time with Von Lamb, I really learned a lot of things. Occasionally, I heard his heart say, "Not bad, Mina, she is really smart, absorbs very quickly. Look, we really have the appearance of husband and wife. So, even without me in the future, she can still live the life she wants. But unless she hates me to the core, I will definitely never let her leave." At this moment, his simple eyes looking at me made my heart suddenly tighten. Damn, why does my head itch? Am I about to fall in love with him? Being with him for a while, I gradually discovered that Von Lamb is truly a workaholic. He has no concept of days off. He also has to work overtime on weekends. There was a time when he was so busy that he ate and slept at the company, but he didn't let me stay with him, but insisted that the driver take me back to the villa. He even forced me to text to report that I had arrived home. If I forgot to send a text message, he would bombard my phone with a series of text messages. During the day, I was sleepy, standing next to him, while he listened to his subordinates report and frowned. It's so annoying, going to work is already tiring, listening to this group of people present is even more tiring. But he's really cute. Look at his little head nodding and falling asleep throughout the whole meeting. Didn't he sleep well last night? Be calm, stay calm, don't get angry. He's still here. If I get angry I'll scare him. Luckily, I have him by my side, otherwise I really wouldn't be able to handle this damn job. I suddenly used myself and immediately woke up. Von Lamb was originally cold as ice. As soon as he looked at me, his expression immediately softened and changed to a gentle tone. "Okay, good job, keep trying." His subordinates stared wide-eyed, and even when he left the classroom, he was still stunned. After a hard week of work, the weekend has finally arrived. I lay in bed, frantically shopping online. After that, I sent a series of product photos to Von Lamb via WeChat. "Dear, I want this. This bag is so beautiful. I want it. I want it." Just as I finished texting, my phone rang that there was a message from the bank. When I looked back at my account, it had increased by 2,000 yuan. I immediately replied, "Thank you honey, love you very much." But he only answered with a series of 3 dots. I knew right away that he was pretending to be cold, but in fact he really liked me. Annoyed, I put down the phone, opened the wardrobe, rummaged around and found a black strapless dress, simple but extremely attractive. This is the dress I nagged Von Lamb to buy for me. Wear it, reveal your white neck, choose the right angle, strike an enchanting pose, take a photo and send it. But this time he didn't answer. Maybe he's busy? I don't care anymore either. Anyway, I was just going to tease him and continue shopping. Shopping with other people's money is truly an absolute joy. The next morning, I went back to work, but as soon as I entered the office, I felt something strange in the atmosphere. Everyone was huddled together whispering, covering their mouths and laughing while glancing at me meaningfully. Really? They play so loudly? Oh my God, I feel excited, tell me a little more. I was curious and approached, but they immediately scattered like bees in a hive, waving their hands and saying, "It's okay, Secretary Lou, quickly go to work. The general director was just looking for you." I frowned in confusion, feeling something was wrong. Just as I was going up the stairs, my colleague Lin grabbed my shoulder from behind and smiled cunningly. "I didn't expect it, Secretary Lou, you and the general manager were playing such a big game. Tell me quickly, how did you manage to dump him like that?" I froze and asked suspiciously. "What are you talking about?" Lin blinked. "Don't pretend anymore. I overheard the people staying late at the meeting yesterday. You and the general manager were openly teasing each other in the group chat. Furthermore, the general manager's phone is full of photos of you." "Impossible, I'm embarrassed. Could it be that the photo I sent last night was seen by someone? Thinking about this, I'm almost going crazy." Before entering Von Lamb's room, I adjusted my mood and tried to stay calm. As soon as he opened the door, he raised his head to look at me, with some doubt in his heart. "Why is my baby's face so red, just like a small apple? It's so cute, I want to squeeze it. But why does his face look bad? It's because of the shopping yesterday, why aren't you happy? Can I transfer another $3 million to my baby? But what is the reason? I wonder who makes the baby unhappy. Whoever dares to make things difficult for my treasure, I will make him bankrupt." I almost vomited blood on the spot. Can this guy be a little less stupid? At this moment, Von Lamb suddenly spoke up. "There's a party tomorrow night, come with me. There's $5 million in the card, choose a nice dress, don't make me lose face." His eyes were cold, his tone seemed like he was just worried that I would embarrass him. If I hadn't heard his heart, I would have truly believed it. My eyes lit up and I immediately accepted the bank card, smiling brightly. "Don't worry, General Manager. I guarantee to complete the task and absolutely not embarrass you." Von Lamb glanced at me, a smile flashed in his eyes, but quickly restored his indifferent appearance. "Don't think too much. I just want to make you aware of the reality. Anyway, your ex-fiancé will also be there. I heard he's about to get engaged." I was still immersed in the joy of having $5 million to spend, so I calmly replied, "Oh, that's great. I hope he gets married soon. It's best if he spends a little more money to help me see through reality." But right after that I heard Von Lamb's anxious voice. The tone was low, so she really can't let go of him yet. "When will you turn around and look at me, haha?" Wait, he misunderstood again? What else? That day, Von Lamb gave me half a day off, so I spent the whole afternoon shopping. Buy dresses, buy jewelry, buy handbags. If you don't have enough money, just send him an invoice to pay. But then I suddenly thought, it seems like it's not good to keep spending his money. Anyway, I'm not officially his girlfriend yet. You haven't even seduced him yet, but he's already moved in. Feeling a bit guilty, I immediately chose a silver gray tie for him and asked the Von family's driver to bring it to the company. I know he will definitely like it, after all, it took me a long time to buy it. Finally, evening came. As soon as I entered the hall, I immediately saw Von Lamb wearing the silver tie I gave him. He stood in the middle of the crowd, coldly conversing with those who came to talk to him. His handsome face carried an arrogant and distant look. My eyes immediately lit up, I really liked him. At that moment, he raised his head to look at me, his eyes were calm, but there seemed to be sparkling spots of light in the bottom of his eyes. Right after that, he strode closer, reached out and pulled me behind me. Dumbfounded, I immediately realized that there were many probing, evaluating, and even lustful eyes around me. Before I could react, his voice suddenly rang out in my head. "Baby, you look so beautiful in this outfit. It's true that you can turn a country upside down and a nation will fall. That's not right, you're beautiful in anything you wear. I regret bringing you here. Why are you so attractive to others? Those damn people can't look, don't look. You're mine, whoever dares to look at you, gouge out their eyes." For the first time in my life, I learned that a person's inner self can be so rich. At this time, someone walked up to compliment Von Lamb's tie. He just smiled slightly, calmly glanced at me. It was Secretary Lou who chose it for me. It's really not bad. But inside he was screaming, "Haha, I have a wife to choose ties for you guys. Do you have any?" My wife goes shopping, she especially remembers me, and even helps me choose clothes. If this isn't love, then what else could it be? I almost couldn't help but laugh on the spot. The image of a cold and aloof general manager that he had worked hard to create was now completely crumbling in front of me. During the party, Von Lamb took me around and introduced me to the partners. There are many people I have met, but because there are all famous characters here, no one shows any attitude, they simply smile and say hello. Until I saw someone, Thach Howe, my ex-fiancée. Next to him is Sue Engian, her hand wrapped around his arm. She was wearing a white dress, looking fragile and meek, obviously trying to dress carefully. But when her eyes met mine, her face stiffened a bit. As for Thach Howe, his face was even more unsightly than eating a bug. But because there were many people around, he didn't dare get angry. After all, Von Lamb is considered a senior in the business world, so he cannot lose face here. I was a little curious. Logically speaking, Engian's family background was not qualified to enter this party. Could it be that the Schur family has really accepted her? But looking at Thach Howe's grimace as if he had swallowed gravel, I immediately understood that he hid this matter from his family and brought her here on his own. At this time, Sue Engian's face was not very good. But she still quickly adjusted her mood, smiling and raising her hand towards us. "I didn't expect to see senior brother here. Sister Lou also came? I just don't know what identity you came with." She smiled innocently, but the sarcastic meaning was extremely clear. I didn't extend my hand. Neither did Von Lamb. He lazily raised his eyes to look at her, his tone cold. It seems that Mista still hasn't learned enough from last time. The fact that she likes to worry about so many things still hasn't changed. If you don't mind, I can sue you again. Oh, is he defending me? I tilted my head and turned to look at him, but he pretended not to look at me. I was so angry that I secretly pinched his waist. He gently squeezed my hand, his palm was so hot it felt like it was transmitting, making me suddenly feel a little strange. Why is it so hot? At this time, Engian was blocked by him, her face turned pale, and she was speechless. Thach Howe angrily glared at me, then pulled Engian away. I looked at their backs, smirked, and raised my middle finger back. Suddenly, Von Lamb's heart sounded again. "Baby, do you still care about him? Why, do you really still have feelings?" When I heard this sentence, my face immediately darkened. Immediately, I seriously looked at Von Lamb and said, "Von Lamb, I don't like Thach Howe. I may have been moved before, but now I really don't have any feelings for him anymore." He stiffened slightly, but still appeared cold. "I know, you don't need to tell me. What does that have to do with me?" Again, this guy started pretending again. I gritted my teeth. "Okay, if you don't care, I won't care about you from now on." Having finished speaking, I angrily went to the corner of the room to get food to eat to relieve my anger. Anyway, there's still a lot of time left until the party ends, and I haven't eaten anything yet. During the time that followed, Von Lamb was busy chatting with his partner and didn't pay attention to me. I sat there eating extremely happily. While I was engrossed in eating and drinking, I didn't notice Engian passing by. Suddenly, her legs were cramped and she fell to the ground very accidentally. The wine glass in her hand also spilled onto her white dress, creating a large stain. Immediately, the entire hall's eyes turned to this. At this moment, Engian bit her lip, her eyes were wet, her voice was sweet, "Sister Lou." Before I could say anything, Thatchow rushed over and pushed me hard, causing me to fall to the ground. The sharp pain rose immediately. I reflexively put my hand on the ground, my palm was torn by friction, bleeding. Thatchow picked up Engian, then turned and pointed at me, angrily scolding, "Lu Tien Na, I really underestimated you. Haven't you always hated me because I broke up the engagement? If anything happens, just aim at me. Why do you have to hurt Engian? Didn't you come to this party today because you wanted to meet me? Do you think that as long as you rely on the Vong family, you can do whatever you want? Don't dream anymore. I'm telling you. No, I only love Engian, and you are just a cruel woman, not worthy of love." There were noisy discussions around. Is she the eldest lady of the recently bankrupt Lu family? I heard that she has an arrogant personality. It seems to be true. She is being taken care of by young Master Vong, right? In the end, doesn't she still have to rely on men? And this illegitimate son of the Thatch family is also really unreasonable. Is there no one left in the Thatch family to take care of him? At that moment, a sudden warmth enveloped me. I turned around, it was Von Lamb. He bent down, gently squeezed my finger with his finger, then put it close to my ear. The voice was low and seductive. "Muna, do you want to try the feeling of being pampered and arrogant?" I looked at him for a moment then nodded. Then I took a deep breath, pop. I slapped Thatchow hard in the face. The slap used so much force that my palm turned slightly red. The whole group stared in surprise and held their breath. As for me, I patted my hand and slowly opened my mouth. Today I would like to clarify once again the relationship between me and Thatch Tien Sin. Previously, the Lu family and the Thatch family had a family marriage. The Lu family helped the Thatch family a lot. However, as soon as my family went bankrupt, Thatch Tien Sin quickly wiped the relationship away and left without hesitation. As for what happened just now, Mista was clearly walking past me on her own, but she fell down for no reason. Could it be that she only fell while passing me? I laughed coldly, my tone sarcastic. There are all smart people here. I'm just saying this much. Of course they can understand on their own. Sure enough, after that, the eyes looking towards Thatchow and Engian turned to contempt. Thatchow clenched his hands but did not dare to say anything, while Engian bit her lips, her face turned pale. I raised my head, grabbed Von Lamb's hand, and said lazily, "It's so troublesome, let's go home." Von Lamb looked at me, his eyes dark. He didn't say anything, just squeezed my hand tighter. After that, the whole way back, Von Lamb did not say anything, nor did he make any noise. This is the first time I haven't heard his voice. Only when I returned to the villa did I slowly let go of his hand. At that moment, a series of his heartbroken voices filled my ears. "She's holding my hand, she's holding my hand." I can't believe it, happiness came so suddenly. I had to kiss this hand dozens of times. I blinked at him. He was confused, hiding his emotions, about to enter the room, but suddenly I pressed him against the door, smiling softly. "Wait, there's something that will surprise you even more." He rolled his eyes at me and asked, "What?" Before he could finish his sentence, I stood up and kissed him lightly on the lips. He stood frozen in place, reached out to touch his lips, his eyes seemed to become vague. "This is the reward for the platelet," Von Lamb finished. I turned around to run away, but he quickly grabbed my waist, lifted me up, and placed me on the table. Board after board, hot breath blew on my face. His cold face completely disappeared, replaced by deep dark eyes, as if hiding a fire. Even his voice became hoarse. "Just one kiss is not enough." He looked at me intently, his eyes not hiding any desire. "Can I add more?" As soon as he finished speaking, I immediately wrapped my arms around his neck and gently nodded. Immediately after that, the whole world seemed to be engulfed in a flurry of kisses. While I was dreaming in the chaos, he smiled softly, his low voice passed through my ear. "I told you, Muna, there is another part of my body that is very hard." The next morning, when I woke up, I found myself lying in Von Lamb's arms. His bangs were a bit damp, curls falling across his forehead. Her quiet and deep eyes still had a lingering aftertaste of last night. His soft hair gently rubbed against my neck, making me feel a little itchy. I gently pushed his head away. "Don't make trouble, it's too rude." But the more he was pushed forward, he continued to nuzzle my neck like a pampered little dog. I laughed. "Von Lamb, are you a dog?" He grabbed my hand, placed a sincere kiss on my palm, then innocently barked a dandruff sound. "I'm Nana's puppy." I was stunned. At this moment, in his sparkling eyes there was only my image, like a loyal dog, never leaving its owner. Although everyone knows that dogs and M are natural enemies, that's why enemies are destined to be together. That same morning, he clearly presented all his assets, then said something that stunned me. "It's all yours, my legs are yours, I'm yours too." According to what he said, doesn't that mean I have become a tycoon? But right after that, he seemed to remember something, his eyes clearly showing doubt and insecurity. "That's not right. Nah, it's not because of money that you agreed to be with me, is it?" I deliberately teased him and nodded slightly. "Well, it's because of the money." He pursed his lips, ruffled his hair, his eyes gradually became determined. "Then I will have to earn more money. Nah, I will not give you a chance to leave me." He was so serious that it made me laugh. I leaned close to his ear and whispered softly, "It's not because of the money." Tease him again. "To be honest, your performance last night wasn't too bad." As soon as I finished speaking, his whole ears turned red, even to the tips of his ears, a hot red color. I reached out and gently touched his ear, but it became even more red to the point of bleeding. "Von Lamb, you are so pure." "Well, like a puppy that is already a puppy, once you have determined who the owner is, you will only be loyal to that person for the rest of your life." Thinking of this, my whole heart suddenly softened. I took a deep breath and opened my mouth slightly. "Von Lamb, I have something to confess to you." "I can hear your heart." He suddenly froze, his pupils slightly constricted, his eyes flickered. He looked surprised, but then he shook his head, obviously not believing. "There's no such thing. Nah, stop joking." I suddenly felt a bit worried, but still persisted in explaining. "It's not a joke. Starting from when I took you to the hotel, I suddenly could hear your thoughts." He frowned, his tone suspicious. "So guess what I'm thinking now?" I looked straight into his eyes and spoke calmly. "I'm thinking again that I don't understand how Muna's mind works." He suddenly fell silent. The smile on his face stiffened. "Huh, can you really hear it?" A second later, he began to panic. "Wait, so you heard everything I was thinking before? Did you already know all of my inappropriate thoughts?" He quickly changed his mind, trying to force himself to think of pure things. "The kitten is so cute. Today the sky is so beautiful, the sun rises from the east, sets to the west. Meat dumplings are meat dumplings. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Von Lamb, don't try to think nonsense anymore. He immediately cursed himself. This stupid mouth of mine, this stupid thought of mine, shut up, this damned inside. I held my stomach and laughed until tears flowed from my eyes. He looked at me confused for a moment, then asked awkwardly. Now, in front of you, I no longer have any image, right? I smiled, wrapped my arms around him, gently stroking his soft hair. No, because I also like Little Dog King. He was stunned, then quickly hugged me tightly, his voice firm. You absolutely must not regret it. Von Lamb is indeed a business genius. Under his guidance for many years, my management ability improved rapidly. I meticulously inventoried the Liu family's debt, and with his help, began to rebuild the Liu company from scratch. I re-recruited all veteran employees of Lugia Group and paid them generous salaries to invite them back. As for the irresponsible father who fled abroad to avoid responsibility, I unilaterally announced that CT Duke had sex with him. The company is growing strongly. After about 5 years, I completely paid off my debt. Also on that day, I accepted Von Lamb's marriage proposal. Since that party many years ago, I have never seen to Engian again, only hearing news from other people. At that time, Von Lamb actually sued her again. That time, she was convicted of violating his privacy and defaming his reputation, forced to publicly apologize and pay more than 100,000 yuan in compensation. Tu Engian had no choice but to appear before the media and bowed her head to apologize to Von Lamb. From then on, she no longer had anything to do with me and turned all her hopes to Thach Hao. But Thach Hao is no better. Since the noise at the party that year, he has seriously damaged the Thach family's reputation. Von Lamb decisively cancelled all cooperation with the Thach family, causing this family to suffer heavy losses. After that, the Thach family immediately abandoned him and moved on to raise another illegitimate son. As for Thach Hao and Tu Engian, they were kicked out of the Thach family. Tu Engian was unwilling and intended to use the old trick to lure the new heir, but the other party did not fall for the trap and instead took her to court. In the end, Tu Engian was ruined, even Thach Hao no longer needed her. I thought I would no longer have any relationship with them. But one day, Thach Hao came to the company to look for me. At this moment, his eyes were red and his voice trembled. Nah, I regret it. I breathed and looked at him, not moving at all. What does it have to do with me? Having finished speaking, I turned around to leave, when he suddenly called after me. If that year, when the Liu family went bankrupt, you hadn't left but stayed with me, could we have had a different ending? Hearing that, I just smiled faintly. Of course it's impossible. At this time, Von Lamb suddenly appeared, wrapped his arms around my shoulders, looked at Thach Hao with sharp eyes, and said faintly, Bowen, see off the guests. I no longer paid attention to Thach Hao, turned around and left with Von Lamb. There's only one thing I'm sure of. That night, Von Lamb tortured me until I no longer had the strength to get out of bed. He hugged me tightly, bit my earlobe, and asked in a low voice, Do you like me? Do you like me? Do you really like me? I rubbed it, knowing immediately that he would kill me again and not forgive me. But after learning that I could hear his heart, he didn't even bother to hide his thoughts. I want to kiss Muna, it's so annoying, so annoying. I don't want to go on a business trip, I don't want to be far from Muna. I want Muna to raise her legs a little higher. Sometimes I really can't stand it anymore, whispering to him. Shouting voice. Von Lamb. He immediately changed his tone, showing an innocent expression. You are wrong, nah. But I heard his heart again. An angry kitten is so cute. What should I do now? I want to kiss her even more. This bastard has absolutely no intention of apologizing at all. But okay, I'm generous and don't blink at him anymore. Many years later, I suddenly discovered something. I can no longer hear Von Lamb's heart. At first I was a bit confused, but then I suddenly realized that I no longer needed it. Because my little dog King voluntarily chained himself next to me, personally placing the kitten's leash around his neck, and that's what he willingly did.